Well, another disturbing circumstance where we have an individual who was not on police radar, was not the subject of previous complaints or reports, who after we scratch below the surface we find evidence that is quite disturbing. In this case, 4 charges related to child pornography, some of them quite concerning from the standpoint of both distribution and actually the production or making of child pornography, and 1 count of sexual interference. And so how this investigation began, a very diligent detective working in our major crime unit was looking for IP addresses that corresponded with some child pornography networks. We executed a search warrant in early December 2013. We anticipated, unfortunately, finding some images of child sexual abuse, and what we ended up finding was evidence that led us to support a charge of a real live victim who was part of what was a broader concern of both child pornography and sexual offenses.
Is the victim local?
So, understandably, we need to protect the victim. Although we are sharing Mr. Andrew Felling's name and his age, 33, we need to be very cautious when it comes to the victim. This is a youth that has already been traumatized, has already been victimized, and the courts have placed a publication ban on that. Nonetheless, we're dealing with serious matters here, and the evidence that we found to this point puts us in a place where we can't preclude the possibility that there are other things we need to investigate. And for that reason, we're offering Mr. Felling's name, and we are certainly asking and appealing to anyone with information to come forward. Certainly we are at least of the belief that our work might not entirely be done.
How rare is it to find production? Like somebody actually producing, like I know there's lots of distribution and stuff, but for actual production?
Yeah, I would say that the 2 things that regrettably ended up being surprises for us is, number 1, we go in with a search warrant expecting to, unfortunately, anticipating finding these images of child sex abuse, and we find a real live victim, or evidence that there is a real live victim, and we have evidence to support the fact that that victim was involved in the production of some of this child pornography. 2 surprises that nobody wants, but nonetheless, obviously our job is to investigate, bring forward recommended charges, and we're at the point now where we have to figure out how much more investigation we have to do, and that will be dependent on the number of people that contact us in the form of witnesses and regrettably victims.
How young is this victim?
Yeah, again, I'm not going to go into the details about the victim for fear that it might identify them. But what I will say at this point is that we are dealing with somebody under the age of 16.